So we have been homeschooling since 1998. I feel old now. It's 18 years. We have seen a lot, a lot. We have heard a lot, and and things have been true. Some things are true, and some haven't been true. There's a lot of hype out there that comes from all types and different places, different circles. Hype from anti-homeschooler support, homeschooling supporters, and hype from pro homeschooling supporters. So we've heard a lot from both camps, different circles, different places. So there's the hype.
Okay, so um, definitely in more recent years, I would say probably within the last 3 years, different people, some family members, just some friends have come to me and told me and made a confession and apologized because, they would have these conversations, of course, about us and what we were doing. And basically say that we were ruining our children. Just wait until they hit teenage years and watch and see what's going to happen. Um, and well, the years came. Of course, it's not with the girls, and to their surprise, things didn't turn out exactly the way they thought they were. So, but they didn't say anything. They're still watching, and then after that, so the thought was, oh, just wait till they turn 18. Wait till they turn 18 and they can leave the house. Watch it see what's happen. And okay, 18 came and went. Well, now they're 21 and 22, and so within those like the last couple of years. Oh yeah, of course, yeah. They said that we were brainwashing them, that we were using mind control, different things like that. That's.
I need clarity.
Were you one of those?
Yeah. Actually, I was the one who started the rumor that you guys were on.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Maybe you need to clarify.
I'm still trying to figure it out.
No, do you have a question?
No.
Okay. Yeah, and so little by little, different people have come and said, we were wrong, and kind of curious, asking questions, and just experiencing different things, within their own family, with their own children, and just kind of a little bit scratching their head, like kind of like everything we thought was going to happen with your kids is kind of happening with ours, and so something's different, something's not right, like just asking questions and really wanting to know, um, what's going on here, why is it different, what's happening.
So yeah. So what I asked myself, like, what's the question is like, what's difference with us? Well, what's the difference with us than others? And one thing I want to clarify first is that we need to not just be comparing, and expect the same from others, whether good or bad. I mean, because every person's their own individual person, and every family is different and unique. But one thing that we always as we were raising our kids is we believe and we expect great things from our children. So we're not going to accept the norm as the norm. So just because there's what is it? Terrible twos. Like, so they're terrible too, so they could just do whatever they want and be disrespectful and hit you. See kids hit their parents at 2, and it's just terrible too. So who'll grow out of it? You know what I'm saying? Like, I've heard it, I've seen it, and no, we're gonna take care of this issue now. And we don't allow things to just because society accepts certain age. A certain ages, certain things happen. But that's not the God we serve. You know, we expect greater things. So I think we always set the bar high. But it's not just saying the bar high; it's encouraging them to shoot high, and also showing grace as they're working towards this high bar. So it's not. Again, it's affirming them when we see good things in them.
So yeah, you can try to imagine what's that called? That Olympic sport, you know? Is it the high bar jump or something like that?
The high jump. High jump.
High jump, yeah. So, I think you get like 3 tries, right? To make it over. Well, it's kind of like, we can do that with our kids with expectations that we have. We can set the bar and you always, maybe it's kind of like a limbo. I think if that's right. Is that the Hawaiian thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, the limbo game. Well, little by little you increase. So you set the bar. And,
we're
you
we're
try
gonna
and
play
jump
that
over.
next.
Set the bar. You try and jump over. You keep on working at it, and then you finally get it. And then you set the bar a little higher, and you keep on going, keep on going. Yeah, that's the kind of thing that when we set the bar, that's what we can do.
Yeah, and we believe too. Like there's a general expectation or revelation for all of us that God expects from us. There's something that just in general. And here I'm going to read you 10 of these 10 things that God expects of us all, children and parents. It's have no other God but one true God, but the one true God. 2, do not bow down to worship any other gods or images. 3, do not use the Lord's name in vain. 4, remember and keep the Sabbath day holy. 5, honor your father and mother. 6, do not murder. 7, do not commit adultery. 8, do not steal. 9, do not lie. And 10, do not covet. So these commandments are very clear. And they are for everyone to follow. They're simple, direct, and clear. So that's what God expects of us. And they're given to us to guide us through life. And do we follow them perfectly? No, but this is a guide. This is a bar set before us. I believe before God.
Okay, so you got what that was in modern day English? Okay. So they're for all of us, right? 10 commandments, they're for all of us. Okay. Okay, but the application of these commandments to my life might not look the same as when you apply them to your life. Okay, so an example of that I'm going to use is Commandment 5. What was that? Yes. Honor your father and mother. Okay. So for me, this means that I communicate to my dad my desire for him in my life and my willingness to accept him just the way he is and forgive him at the same time. I'm gonna express my desire for a relationship with him. I am going to also express my acceptance of him where he's at, and I am also going to forgive him for when I need to forgive him, whatever it is, if I'm hurt or whatever. I am going to forgive him, but I'm going to communicate that even though he has hurt me, I I still want to have a relationship with him, and that's one of the things that I have had to work on a lot over the years with my dad. Um, but at the same time, I'm doing all of this. I'm trying to maintain healthy boundaries. So there have been times where, you know, we've I try to avoid political conversations with my dad because we don't see eye to eye at all. So I just try to avoid them. But this one particular time I didn't, and he hung up on me, and so I was like, "Hello, hello." He hung up on me. I can't believe he hung up on me. And I was like, I can't believe this. So I called him back. He didn't answer. I left him a message and I said, "Pa, I can't believe you hung up on me." I can't believe you hung up on me. You hung up on me. I said, "I want you to know my position isn't going to change. This is what I believe. I know your position's not going to change. But if you want to talk about this again, I'm open to it. And I want you to know that I still want to talk to you and I forgive you for hanging up on me. But I want you to know it really hurts my feelings. I'll talk to you later. Bye." And he did not call me for like at least 3 months. We did not talk at all. And I don't even remember why he called when he did call back. But I was fine. I felt like I said what I needed to say. I communicated how I felt. And I understand he's not a believer. I understand why he believes what he believes. And that's, not my problem, really. But so for me, honoring my father means those things. And because of the dynamics of our relationship, because of our past, because of our different experiences together, that's what it means for me to honor my father and mother. But that might not mean that for any of you. That might mean something totally different. Honoring your father and mother might look totally different than my way to honor my father. That's my example.
Yeah, and like for that same verse, for me it means that I'll say my father. My father was I had to I think forgive him or release him for I missed out from a second marriage, and just like I really felt bad for his kids, his daughters from his first marriage. Like it wasn't fair. It wasn't fair, and just had to yeah, not hold that against him, and not hold bitterness towards him for that. Even though he was with me my whole life, he wasn't with them. I still thought it wasn't fair for them. You know, so that was one way. But it's good as I release him and stuff. He talks about he lives with regret for that. So that's comfort that he doesn't just don't care. You know. So
Okay, so what does this have to do with homeschool hype and lies we believe? Okay. First of all, hype has all to do with temporary excitement. That's what hype is. Temporary. Temporary excitement. It is rooted in trends, whatever trend is for today. It is, what's new and different and just different for the sake of being different. Not that it's even good or beautiful or anything. It's just different, and it's a trend because it's different, and that's it. It is very fleeting and doesn't stand the test of time. Anything we do that is motivated by hype, trends, or circles we are part of do not stand the test of time. Hype dies, trends fade away, and circles change. And so when those things happen, when the hype is over, when the trend is not trendy anymore, and the circles that you're a part of change because they always change. No one's ever a part of the same circles for their whole entire life. Maybe, hopefully, there's one or two, like your family and stuff, but they change. And if what we're doing is resting and dependent on the hype, then it's not going to be consistent and it's going to change and we won't be steady. We're going to be up and down all the time, and that's not going to be the kind of example we want for our kids. That's how they're going to turn out. They're just going to continue going with the same pattern that we have set. We'll do what's popular today, and if it's not popular tomorrow, we're going to change it. And that's hype. Okay. So if we have come to the place of believing that God has called us, parents, to be the primary source of our child's education, and we accept this mantle, then we also have the need and obligation to seek God for his specific application for this responsibility for ourselves and for our children. He has given us charge of our children. We are to be stewards of our children, good stewards of our children. And so if we have made the decision and we believe this is what God has called us to do, then we have the responsibility and obligation to seek him for his will and how that's supposed to look.
So, like, we started homeschooling, it was just like not acceptable by our parents, my parents, your parents. But then my sister started homeschooling. Then it was a hype with them. Now it's good, that's a good thing. And there's still hype going on. But yeah, so hype could just get created in little circles, families, just out of nowhere, But curriculums and catalogs that come in the mail with pictures that show the child, the mom sitting at the table or the couch, happy big smiles, right? Clean, the background's nice and clean, the house, or a nice clean cut haircut, right?
We all notice the same thing.
So warm, right? The picture seems so warm, like wow. And not saying that it could never happen or it doesn't happen, but it creates this hype of, wow, this is what it should be. And if you don't look like that, you have a problem. And that's used to draw us in and hook us. And or also if you go to a homeschool conference, and you just hear a speaker and he's talking about all these positives, the pros of homeschooling, doesn't touch on any of the cons, it's like it becomes depressing, But here are some homeschool stats. The home educated typically scores 15 to 30% percentile points above public students on standardized academic achievement tests. Homeschool students score above average on achievement tests regardless of their parents' level of formal education or their family's household income. Home-educated students typically score above average on SATs and ACTs tests that colleges consider for admissions. Homeschool students are increasingly being actively recruited by colleges, so they're really seeking out homeschoolers.
That sounds so good.
It's a hype.
That sounds great. Oh yeah, one of them.
Again, I'm not saying these things are not true or are bad, but they can be used to create a hype, and to really just go off of. So when you get a phone call from grandma, you throw these stats at them, or you post these online, or you send them an email, and I'm not saying don't do that, but I think God wants to do more than just this in our homes. And you and I are accountable to Him, to God. We're accountable to Him, not to our neighbor, to our parents. But we're to look at the picture He has given us. And we're to ask Him how we should take the command in Deuteronomy 6 that says, "And you must love the Lord your God with all your hearts, all your soul, and all your strength. And you must commit yourselves wholeheartedly to these commands that I am giving you today. Repeat them again and again to your children. Talk to them when you are at home and when you are on the road, when you are going to bed and when you are getting up. Tie them to your hands and wear them on your foreheads as reminders. Write them on the doorpost of your house and on your gates." So, how do we apply Deuteronomy 6 in light of 2 Timothy 3 to our unique families and our lives? It says that all scripture is inspired by God and is useful to teach us what is true and to make us realize what is wrong in our lives. It corrects us when we are wrong and teach us to do what is right. God uses it to prepare and equip His people to do every good work. These are types of questions maturity-seeking followers of Christ ask.
So you have the 10 Commandments. So 10 Commandments are obviously clear what you're supposed to do, what you're not supposed to do. Kind of like when you're talking to your young children, you don't give them a lot of details. You just say, pick up the toys, put them away. Very short, direct commands. That's the 10 Commandments. Very short, direct commands. That's what we need when we're little children, when we're immature. Short and direct, clear. That's it. But as we mature and as we develop in our relationship with the Lord and we get stronger and we can do more, we can handle more,
more is revealed to us.
More is revealed to us. And that's only going to happen if we are seeking God for the revelation of those things. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen like, you're just going to read the 10 Commandments and it's going to tell you what to do. And that's what maturity does. Maturity will drive you to seek the Lord for the specific revelation of the commands in your life. And it is going to plant a seed that is going to root a conviction that's going to carry you through whatever is going on in your life. Whether it's a trend, whatever trend comes and goes, whatever hype comes and goes, whatever circle you're in, your conviction is going to go with you and it's going to carry you through. It's not going to change. And so this is the difference between, you hear a lot of people say, the Bible's not clear about that. I can do whatever, I can make my own decision, I can do whatever I want. The Bible's not clear about that. And really that's the kind of question somebody, when you're struggling, battling with your flesh, battling with your own desire, not really your hope, you want what you want to be what God wants, and you're hoping. And so you're just going to stick to that instead of really seeking God for the revelation of what He really wants for your life. And so that's what we do. And that's immaturity. Maturity in Christ will say, I'm going to seek the will of God, and that's what I'm going to do whether I want to do it or not. And I'm going to pray that God will change my heart in the process. That's maturity.
Yeah, and I think too where there's that general revelation like 10 Commandments, but then there's a specific revelation God gives us, He gives our children. So there may be some things, some character that some kids need to focus on more than others of our children need to focus on. And I think that's when we really need to pray and ask God for wisdom. And yeah, I think that's where it could get tricky with having multiple kids at home. It's like you give them the general revelation, but then you have to really pray like, God, what is it that you want them to work on right now? What is it? What's their weakness? So we cannot be lazy or careless and assume that because there is not a specific command or scripture, like I was saying, for that. It's like I I think it's just a lame excuse sometimes to just do the wrong thing. But what are some common lies that we wrestle with? Just think about that for a minute. Just what are some common lies that we wrestle with? I believe there are three main lies we are tempted to believe. Lies I have heard and wrestled through myself. These lies affect how we think, what we believe, and how we structure our days in life.
Okay, so I'm gonna go from three. Number three lie is I will ruin my child. Um, I call this lie an unrealistic expectation. If we love our kids, which we do, we want the best for our kids, we're not gonna ruin our child. It's not gonna happen. We're not gonna ruin our child. I mean, we all have stuff messed up about us, but they're gonna have some messed up things about them too. They're not gonna be ruined. They're not gonna be ruined.
And I think sometimes our expectations are so high, and we convince ourselves that we will ruin our child. We just and that they won't be able to make it in the world. They won't be able to make a living on their own, or socially, or emotionally, or economically. But I think it's a lie. It's a lie. We are we need that balance. We set the bar low. They're not going to shoot any higher than that where that bar is at. So we shoot the bar high, but we help them get there. So shoot the bar so high they can't get up there, but we boost them up there to reach the bar and let them do the rest. And we encourage them. Like Nehemiah got his purple belt last Thursday, and he was exhausted. It looked like he was going to pass out, but everyone came around him and did the 50 burpees along with him.
That was the end.
That was the end.
So he had to grapple for 2 minutes with 10 different people back to back. That was one of the things he had to do. At the very end, he had to do 50 burpees. I was so encouraged and I was so blessed because when I heard.
But first, he had to grapple with his sisters too. So he was out of strength, but he had to not give in to his sister.
But I was so blessed because when I heard that the guys came alongside of him and started doing the burpees with him and told him, "Come on, you can do it. Let's go." I mean, they got him through those last 50 burpees, and I was just like, "Man, that is such a blessing. How cool is that? And how precious is that?" And that's what we need to be doing for each other. Not just in this situation, but just in following Christ and sticking to what He's commanding us to do, and being faithful. It's like, man, that's what we need to be doing now. We need to be saying, "Come on, we can do this. Let's do this together." When one of us is getting weak and tired. So that was very cool. Okay. Okay. The next lie is homeschooling will protect my child from the evil in the world. And this, I have to say, I have personally seen as the most scariest thing to encounter. I call this lie the perfect little family. We have a perfect little family. As long as we don't allow any evil influences in our house, and as long as this and that, then we won't have to face any problems. And little do we know that the world is creeping in all the time, and all of us have a sinful desire, sinful nature, sinful desires, and that doesn't go away and change just because we're homeschooling and living in this. Keep staying away from this, staying away from that. I'm not saying don't take your kids to the bar or anything like that because whatever. But I'm saying obviously we need to protect our kids. But to think that we can actually somehow prevent like sin from happening with our kids is just a huge, huge deception and very, very dangerous.
It's like a false security that people think that if I hang out with these families, I don't hang out with my unsafe family. I don't have to keep an eye on the kids because these kids are all good. That's a lie. And people that believe the lie that sin dwells outside the walls of our home set themselves up for what I believe is one of the most tragic family situations. This is when incest and molestation by siblings take place. These parents blind themselves from seeing and confronting the sin in their child's life. So the sin is never given free reign. It is given free reign in the life of the child as a result that produces compounding hurt and grief for the parents and family. So when the child at a young age does something, like, well, he really didn't mean that. My child never seen a bad movie, so he didn't really mean that. People forget that we have a sinful nature that lives in us that we have to fight, and even that little child needs to be corrected of it, even if he doesn't know it's wrong. He needs to be corrected that this is wrong. Because I look back in school when certain students were doing something. Now they're registered sex offenders. There's a pattern. There's a pattern. So James 1, 14, 15 tells us temptation comes from our own desires, which entice us to and drags us away. These desires give birth to sinful actions, and when sin is allowed to grow, it gives birth to death. That James 1, 14 to 15. Temptation comes from our own desires. If bestiality is not a sinful desire in my life, then when I see an animal, I will not feel tempted to sin with an animal. But if I have a sinful desire towards stealing, then when I see something that I can take, I will have to fight that sinful desire to steal. So the good news is that the two verses before this one is James 1, 12, 13. God blesses those who patiently endure testing and temptation. Afterward, they will receive the crown of life that God has promised to those who love him. And remember, when you are being tempted, do not say, God is tempting me. God is never tempted to do wrong, and he never tempts anyone else. So he will never tempt you to do wrong. So I've seen this a lot, and you see it more where places where people think this is a safe place. They put their guard down. They assume strength. Like it's like pride before fall, really.
I like to call it utopia. People try and create their own little utopias here and there. There's like towns all over the place where they got started And the focus and the emphasis was just, only Christians could live here, or only this type of group of people can live here.
Yeah, it was Harvey, Illinois was started that way. There was no bars, no liquor stores, no churches, good communities. And what happened? Look where it's at now. It doesn't work. God never allows that.
And you can see that even in Acts when God, separated all the believers. Why? Because he told them, go out, preach the gospel, share the good news. And they didn't. They just stayed in their nice little community. And persecution came and scattered them. That's what God wanted for them to do in the first place. They didn't do it, so God made it happen. Okay. And number 1. Homeschooling will be a waste of my talents and abilities. As a mom, I have many talents, many abilities. I'm gifted. God has, I know, gifted me with this to make a difference in the world. And if I homeschool, I am wasting all of it. And I will not be making a difference in the world. I will not be making the impact that I need to make in the world. That is a tragedy. That is such a lie. That is one of the main lies that I had to struggle with, especially starting off. That was the biggest lie and battle that I had for myself. And part of the reason is because in my conversations with my dad, he would tell me how disappointed he was because I was smart and I was wasting it and just letting it all go to waste. Just being a stay-at-home mom and homeschooling. What a waste. And so definitely for a good portion of probably 6 years, that was a real struggle, a real battle that I had to deal with for a very, very long time. And once in a while, it tries creeping back up on me. Not as much, and it's definitely, something that I can deal with much easier. But before, it was a huge battle for me. It was such a struggle for me to have to deal with that. And really, it was God's grace. I really have to attribute being able to move out of that to the grace of God and God's mercy for not allowing me to stay stuck in those beliefs and in those lies that I'm wasting my life, and really tormenting myself, allowing Satan to torment me with those lies that this is meaningless and pointless. And that was God's grace, it was God's mercy, and part of it was, him allowing me to see the fruit of my labor. And I am so thankful for God to allow me to see, the good fruit in the midst of, hard times and probably not so good fruit. Okay. One of the big, huge verses that really God used in my life was John 1:10. The thief's purpose is to steal and kill and destroy. My purpose is to give them a rich and satisfying life. I knew that's what God wanted for me. I knew He wanted me to do this. I knew He wanted me to homeschool. And God wanted good for me. And I knew because of this, no, God, and this is what I had to do to fight. No, God, I know that this is an eternal, everlasting investment that I'm making in my kids. This is what's going to last. Their souls are going to last forever. Whether it's they're going to be living an everlasting life in hell or in heaven. And what greater investment can I make? What more of an impact can I make in life? And the impact that their lives can make is definitely way more than I could possibly do on my own, doing whatever I thought was, big and important. So that was definitely one of the things that that helped me get through that. And then the other truth that God confronted me with was What do you benefit if you gain the whole world but lose your own soul? And as I thought about that, I thought, what would I benefit? What would be the benefit if I lost the souls of my children? Is anything worth more than a soul? And that is not. There's nothing worth more than my child's soul. And I was convinced, like that is what convinced me. Like, no, this is an investment that has kingdom value and is worth every breath that I have and every last bit of energy that I have and every sacrifice that I make or struggle. There's nothing that will be more satisfying than to, be in heaven for eternity with my kids. So,
And the souls of our children is why we are doing this. The glory of God is why we are doing this. Advancing His kingdom is why we're doing this. And why are we doing this? If we are the first generation Christians, your child should not have to start and break ground where we were supposed to. That's how we feel. Like our children should be able to continue from where we left off at very least. But we should desire that they far exceed us and that we could see it happen. So that's our desire, that we can see it happen. So let's ditch the hype, take the lights captive for the sake of your family, because it does affect our life. Lies dictate. If we believe them and we act on them, it dictates our life. It alters our life. So, for the sake of your family, for the sake of your children, but most importantly, for the sake of the glory of God and the advancement of His kingdom, ask God to root a God-sized conviction about everything you are doing, and don't turn back. So again, like, let's pray that God would really give you that conviction. If that's what's gonna last, not the hype. Don't shy away. Just stand until God says move. Just stand. And one thing I want before we close is and we had to. The character is so key. I think too that it's like because we could do that when we're driving, when we're on vacation, we're going to the store. That's it's the time. It's the time. It's the time we have with our children. It's so vital, and it's so short. Really, time is so short, and a lot can be taught through the time spending together. But also, a lot is taught through those Ten Commandments, how we handle, how we live our life too. Let's not forget. They could see, they see us. So yeah, it could affect in a positive way, but it could affect in a negative way if we're just not being serious ourselves. So, but let's not believe those lies. Thanks for coming, guys. Closing prayer, Chad.
But thank you for reminding us just of what's really important and help us to remember it, help us to keep our eyes focused on the eternal things, Lord. Help us keep our eyes focused on your kingdom, Lord, your righteousness, and that would be the thing that we're chasing after in our homes, Lord, as we're homeschooling our children and discipling them, God. We would chase after the world's values, chase after the world's priorities, Lord, but put yours really first, Lord, even if it's radical or
Sure.
We actually, a lot of the stuff that we learned today, we're doing through this meeting for Fusion Garfield Ridge. We're doing this visionary parenting. Gentleman by the name of Ron Bruno that and it's already, I think, we've seen a lot of people doing it for the last week. For 2 weeks so far, it's going to be 8 weeks total. And next week, what's the next meeting? April. If you guys are interested in more